Hey everyone, if you're in Dr. Inowa's YMT 210 course, then you already know that building software, well, it's about a lot more than just writing code, right? It's really all about solving problems. So in this quick explainer, we're going to break down what is maybe the most critical skill for any technical team, and that is clear, effective communication.
You know, this quote right here, it just nails it. It gets to the very heart of what we do as software engineers. Your job isn't just to produce lines of code. No, it's to build solutions for people. And think about it, to understand the problem in the first place, to work well with your team, and to actually deliver what a user needs, communication ends up being your single most powerful tool. For real.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about why this stuff matters so much. Then we'll dive into 4 core concepts, look at some best practices to make you a clearer communicator, and also check out some common mistakes you definitely want to avoid. And then at the end, it's going to be your turn to practice.
All right, first up, why does communication even matter? I know it can feel like coding is like 99% of the job, but trust me, good communication, that's the foundation that makes all of your great code actually work in the real world.
I mean, just think about it for a second. If you miscommunicate with your team, what happens? You get bugs, you waste a ton of time, and if you can't talk clearly with your managers, the project goals get all muddled and you start missing deadlines. Worst of all, if you don't understand your users, you could build the most technically perfect piece of software that nobody actually wants or knows how to use. That's a disaster.
Okay, Section 2, the 4 core concepts. So, we've established that communication is a big deal. But where do you even start? Let's break it down into 4 fundamental building blocks. These are the key ideas you'll be focusing on in your course.
Think of these as your 4 pillars. First, a clear structure. A beginning, a middle, and an end. It gives your message a logical flow. Second, audience awareness. This is all about making sure your message actually lands and gets understood. Third, a professional tone. This builds trust, makes you seem credible. And finally, concise writing. This just shows you respect everyone's time. If you can master these 4 things, you are well on your way.
Now for Section 3, know your audience. Okay, listen up, because of all the concepts we're going to talk about, this one is probably the most critical. If you only remember one thing from this entire explainer, make it this. Communication isn't about what you want to say. It's about what your audience needs to hear.
This table is a perfect example of why that one-size-fits-all approach to communication just doesn't work. Think about it. You'd never send your manager a super detailed code review, right? And you wouldn't send a regular user a high-level project status report. It's the same info, but you have to package it differently for each person if you want it to be effective.
So before you hit send on that email or commit that code, just make this your mental checklist. Ask yourself these 3 simple questions. Who am I talking to? What do they already know? And what do they really need from me right now? Seriously, answering these questions first will save you and everyone else a world of confusion down the line.
Moving on to Section 4, best practices for clarity. Okay, so we figured out who we're talking to. Now let's get into the practical side of things. The simple rules and tools that'll make your messages super sharp, clear, and just plain easy to understand.
I like to call these the golden rules. And look, being simple and brief isn't about dumbing things down. Not at all. It's about respecting people's time and their attention span. Using the active voice and giving good examples, that's what makes your ideas concrete and easy to grab onto. Let's actually see a couple of these in action.
Here's a great example of active versus passive voice. On the one hand, you have, the bug was fixed. It's fine, but it's passive, kind of vague, like who fixed it? But then you have, our team fixed the bug. See the difference? It's active, it's clear, and it shows ownership. There's just no room for confusion there.
And this is a big one. Try to avoid jargon whenever you can. Jargon is just that special technical language that only other experts are going to understand. So for example, instead of saying something like, we must leverage the new API endpoints, which might totally confuse a non-technical manager, just say, we should use the new API tools. It means the exact same thing, but it's crystal clear to everyone in the room.
Oh, and you have to remember this crucial difference. Broadcasting is a one-way street. It's like a radio announcement. You just send it out there. But real communication, that's a two-way conversation. So don't just throw information out into the void. You got to make sure it was actually received and understood. A simple way to do that is to always close the loop. Ask for questions, ask for a confirmation.
All right, Section 5 is all about what not to do.
Honestly, one of the fastest ways to get better at something is to learn from common mistakes. So let's look at some of the communication traps that can totally derail a project and make your whole team frustrated. And what's interesting is, if you look at this list, you'll see how each of these mistakes connects right back to those core concepts we talked about. Using too much jargon or being unclear? That means you forgot about your audience. Missing documentation? That's a failure of clarity and structure. These aren't just little oopsies. They create real delays, real frustration, and real problems. Okay, last section, and this one's on you. It's time to practice. Look, understanding all these ideas is a great first step, but communication is a hands-on skill. It's just like coding. The only way you get better is by actually doing it. So, here's your challenge for this week. I want you to go to your own GitHub projects and start applying these principles to your documentation. And your goal is really simple. Make it so clear that a brand new team member could jump in and understand your project without having to ask you a single question. That right there, that's a super powerful skill for collaboration.
So, let's bring it all back to where we started. Your job is to solve problems, and your number one tool for doing that is clear communication. So from this moment on, don't just write code, communicate it. With every single commit message, every email, every document you write, just ask yourself this one simple question. How can I make this message just a little bit better?